Hi everybody, Tom Colohue here, ready to join you for WWE Smackdown. Apologies for the brief delay. First my BT Sport decided it didn't actually exist anymore, tried to offer me a demo, and then I had to wait for my go live button to remember that it existed. So good stuff as always, from the wonders that is YouTube, the wonders that is, as we know, BT Sport. But welcome, we have ourselves a Smackdown. We have another match in the Tag Team Championship Tournament on the women's side. We apparently do not have the Usos. We also have a fatal 5-way to determine a new challenger for Gunther as well. So bit by bit, we're getting towards a great show. And the pyro there certainly set the stage. It's nice to have pyro. Now admittedly, oh look, it's Ronda immediately. Again, good pop. Admittedly, the whole thing with the pyro is just Triple H's way of saying, hi, this is going to be different. Supposedly it's for the 1200 show, but I imagine we're going to see a lot of pyro in the near future. Ronda Rousey is opening the show. She's in the ring. They are, as usual, not messing around. I imagine we're going to get a call out of some sort, and we're going to get some sort of Shayna. Welcome Sean, welcome Moxie, and welcome Connor to this show. Welcome as well everyone currently watching on YouTube. Be sure to hit that like. And if you're watching on Twitch and haven't done so yet, hit follow. It'll be worth it. Ronda Rousey having disagreements with the microphone. What's reinstatement? From Adam Pearce. We all know who's in charge now. Hello Megan, how are you? That's a Ronda chant. Much like Becky Lynch, she got over by being a heel. People said she was terrible at promos. I mean, it's not bad. It's a good start. Who's going to come out instead? Give me Sonya. Nope, it is Adam Pearce and a lot of male security. Bad shout. They ain't going to last very long. You're right, Bailey. Good spot. Bailey says Pat McAfee's reference of Jim Cornette in the 1200th episode opening caught Michael Cole off guard. It did, very visibly so as well. Oh, thanks for letting me know that, Si. Let me see if I can fix it. Bear with me 1 second. Hopefully, that's better. I know that sometimes we have issues on YouTube, particularly with the audio. We've only had it the once, but it's bad. No, that's fair, Connor. Nobody's a real fan. Ronda stumbling over a word slightly there. Let the let the crowd chant. Jared Berry here, the two. Sounds like it's a YouTube thing then. Megan says, I'm okay. Got really into House Flipper yesterday. Playing House Flipper today, which is nice. Ooh, okay. You do have quite the eclectic collection of games there. There's Ronda versus Security again. Always fun. Really, Connor? I never thought you'd be a FIFA player. Oh, that was genuinely an elbow. The fact that she's throwing guys around really does help the credibility of the character. Mostly with sexists, but still. Good sell by Security. Bailey says, by the way, congratulations on 1500. Not that long ago, when you were talking about someday monetizing with 1000, it was so far away. It was only March when we reached 1000 subscribers. There's a slight delay on my actual stream as well. Don't know what it is. But yes, it was only a little while ago in March that we actually reached 1000. Then we went through the whole thing of unmonetizing. Then we remonetized and suddenly we went boom. Like good old-fashioned boom. Which is nice. So, very happy Tom. Very happy Tom. What can I say? Honestly, I didn't expect to reach 1500 this quickly. I'm very happy that I did. I just have to give credit to everyone who's got me here. Which is you guys. Would not have got here if not for. Simply no chance in hell. I had no chance. Do. No chance in hell. Megan says advantages of Game Pass cloud gaming means I can just pick a game and get right into it. I'm doing that at the moment on the PlayStation. I'm enjoying it. Playing a lot of Final Fantasy and Dynasty Warriors, what can I say? Gotcha, Si. I'm trying to look and see what I can do with it. But if it is YouTube, then it's YouTube. I might just have to reset the YouTube stream. Which wouldn't be difficult. Would be easy enough thing. I think you can just, you know, click stop and then continue. Ah, she passes, Roman on the way. Now, is it a glitch that bad? Has it improved at all? Or is it something we can survive? It is indeed Roman, that's a hell of a pop. Connor says, I know, it always surprises people. I know, right? Sean says, Alexa said in the Mac Mania podcast, she's working on something and has been for a while, but it's all about timing and when the moment is right. Also said she's boring as a person as Lexi and feels boring on TV right now. Wants to regroup and reorganize things and wants to get where she wants to be character-wise. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I kind of get what she's saying as well, even though I don't necessarily agree with it. True, Connor, very true. Right, okay, so we're at the chipmunk situation. That's not great. High-pitched mic glitch. Okay, the issue is that it's all YouTube videos about it. And what have we got? Update the BIOS. Not an issue. Disable sound enhancements. Not really the issue. Didn't do anything. Right, so that fix isn't really happening. Not the most promising start, is it? Not the most promising. Well, Twitch is fine, that's good, but it's not necessarily what I'm looking for. I like to make sure both shows are working. Right. Let's see what I sound like then. I'm literally opening my own stream to have a listen and hear just how bad I sound. So I'm just going to do some talk. Oh no, that is bad. That sucks. What is happening there? Okay, so let's get into the studio. Restart the stream and see if that can actually fix it. Thanks for letting me know, by the way, guys. Like, this is something that I would have walked into blind with no idea about if I didn't already know. Stream marker, create highlight. So I'm worried that if I end it, it'll just be like, okay, well, you've ended now. If I pause it, it literally just pauses a preview. How to restart a YouTube. Nope, not channel. Stream, not how to start streaming. It's saying I have to create a new one. That's not going to work for me, is it? A 58-minute long video saying how to reset the room when live streaming. 58 minutes seems a bit harsh, doesn't it? It seems a bit harsh. Right, okay. Gotcha. Okay, so what I need to do is restart the actual stream itself. Yeah, the mic sounds terrible. Megan says, how angry will the crowd be if Sami doesn't win tonight? Very, very angry indeed. I don't think anyone's actually going to win out on this one. Sean says, is this Toxic Attraction's main roster debut or is it just for one night? It is just for one night. Oh, cool. Lots of dark matches then. Lots of dark matches. And Justin does believe she's boring. I don't. I don't believe she's boring, I've got to be honest. Right, so I'm going to restart the stream. Hopefully this boots the YouTube up the bum as it needs be. Because it's not the microphone, it is actually purely YouTube. So I'm just literally going to restart. Please don't go anywhere. And we are back. Let's see if that's kicked things into gear. Let me know on the YouTube side. I know it usually kicks the viewership down a bit, but I haven't heard that audio issues. Not fun. We do have Natalya and Sonya Deville in the ring. They've got a bit of a jobber's entrance, but not an embarrassing one. I see ourselves a Bayley. They've got 3 seats set up, but someone's just leaning over one of their chairs. He's going to need to move. Thank you, Jarrett. Appreciate that. So that has fixed the issue. Wow. Well, I'm going to go ahead and not comment further on that. Brilliant. Thanks, guys. Okay, so we have found the fix. I'm interested to see what reception Toxic Attraction get. It's not great. Lukewarm at best, I feel. Doesn't seem like Mandy Rose is there either. Probably just trying to keep the Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville section separate. Megan says, WWE shutting down the UK brand 2 weeks before a UK show isn't good. The only thing that could be worse is if taking the remaining UK talent being taken over to the US for a show that we can... Oh, wait. Yeah, it says a lot, unfortunately, about the intention there. And I don't mean this in a good way. So this actual hype video doesn't seem to feature Mandy Rose at all. Is it possible that they get called up as a tag team without Mandy? I mean, certainly not impossible. Michael Cole very upset with the arrival of Bayley. It's certainly very telling about the WWE's intentions for NXT that they have literally just dropped NXT UK on its face. Sean says, how do we know this isn't an official call-up for Gigi and Jacy? Because it was last minute and because I've reached out and been told, yeah, it's not an official call-up. Bayley says, casual fans just don't know the NXT talent. Yeah. That's pretty standard. I know that some people get very, very excited by NXT talent, but a lot of people don't. They are still NXT talent. It's a good opportunity for them, though. Especially working in a ring with someone of Natalya's caliber. She'll make sure they have a great start. Kieran loving how Bayley still hates Cole. And she's committed to that. I think that's the main thing. No, Sean. NXT does not have a strong casual audience at all. Not even close, unfortunately. NXT just not that much, not that high viewership. Megan says long-term booking at its best with Bayley and Cole. We know eventually it's going to be a WrestleMania match. We've always known that. But of course, the Dakota Kai Pat McAfee feud that warms it up, I'm excited for that. Sonya Deville may have accidentally headbutted Gigi Dolan in the crotch there. Awkward, but she managed to save it with a spear. Alpha says, I don't get excited for NXT talent, I get anxious. Fair enough, mate, fair enough. Was it you who popped onto my Instagram earlier? Jarrett said, did you do a news video earlier today, Tom? I did indeed. We had ourselves a spoiler warning. And spoiler warning was mostly focused on the changes happening with the NXT globalization. We also talked at some length about CM Punk, MJF, and Jon Moxley, as well as speaking about potentials for a WWE return for all, well, WWE return for 2, and a debut for 1. Bit of a sloppy start so far, particularly when Sonya Deville's in the ring. Like, I obviously very highly rate Sonya Deville, you'll all be aware of this. But she's not Natalya when it comes to ring general. I don't really know what to post though. It's Instagram and I don't take many pictures of me. Like, I don't really know what to do with the whole format. I can have a look and see my options. I've still got some holiday snaps to put on, but maybe. Might be a good idea. I think I'm hearing a Mandy chant. It's a brief Mandy chant. It's not a strong Mandy chant, but it's a Mandy chant nonetheless. The match does feel a bit slow motion. Not hugely so, but just a bit slow-mo. We go to commercial break with a brief focus on Bayley, saying, hey, they're not two, and then commercial break. Sean says, looks like Braun and Cora are official. Braun posted on his Instagram W with a picture of both. Cora shared it in her story with a love heart. Says everything, really, doesn't it? Says everything. I mean, it is a W, it's fair. Ooh, that's not great. Justin says, I feel like Dakota and Io versus Alexa and Asuka should... Great finals? Io and Dakota versus Ilya and Raquel just sound meh. Yeah, but to be fair, the finals mostly based around Sasha and Naomi, so... If that's your dream, Kieran, then a bit weird, you've never met the girl, so, you know, good luck to Bron Breakker and good luck to Cora Jade. I do get very confused though when people are like, oh, she's a perfect girl. You literally do not know the first thing about her. Ofa says, I know it's only been about 10 minutes, but the crowd doesn't seem too hot. They'll get hot. They'll get hot. Mostly for Sami, which I'm very happy about, but they'll get hot. Moxley says the match isn't good, but isn't bad at the same time. Yeah, it's a fairly consistent debut, but I do feel it's a bit sloppy. That will be because it hasn't actually processed yet, Jarrett. It is there. Let me just grab the link for you. They sort of hang around in the background a little bit while they process, and yet for some reason they're still completely accessible for me. It's a strange world we live in. Live videos, for example, they need to go through and process them like, yeah, is this suitable? Is this suitable? It is, but like, is it? Yes. Okay, so right click, copy link, and now I'll stick it in here for you. We have 13 people watching on YouTube and only the 5 thumbs up. Guys, what gives? What gives? Let's get ourselves a thumbs up, shall we? Let's see what we can do with that. That should be in there now for you, and indeed it is. So he says, keen to see how that Roman segment plays out later. That chant and pop for him was massive. Do we have a heel crowd in Montreal? Well, usually we do. Usually we do. Kieran says, do we think Sheamus wins because he's the closest to the UK? That's very Vince McMahon thinking. Very Vince McMahon indeed. I do think it's a genuine possibility, but I also think he's a heel. And Gunther's a heel, so that doesn't quite work. Connor says, Tom, I have a question. In a hypothetical world where AEW closed tomorrow, who are the first 3 talents that will be through that WWE door? Samoa Joe, Andrade, and Aleister Black. In that order as well. Hypothetical, of course. Over says, the unbelievable urge to bring a sign saying follow Tom Colohue to Clash at the Castle. I've never had a sign, I'll say that. That would be... Well, I may cry if that happened. I've never had a sign, so... You know. Kind of funny, though. Like, I'd be flattered. No worries, Jarrett. Moxie says, the crowd fell a bit dead, though, so I suspect Bayley and Adria might beat down the winner or Mandy comes out. They will have planned the show out before realising the crowd was a bit quiet, so there'll be no actual connection to it. Over says, oh god, the watch-along is so far ahead of my illegal stream Monday Night Raw. Well... I would hope so, but Monday Night Raw is like 5 days ago, so... Kieran says Adam Cole instead of Samoa Joe. No, Samoa Joe would be number 1. No question. No question whatsoever, Samoa Joe would be number 1. Sean says, surprise the women's tag matches start off the shows. They don't have them as a draw segment. Well, the opening segment is a draw segment. Oh, that was sloppy. It is the case that we do have several draw segments across the show. There is always at least 3. Beginning of the show, on the hour, final segment, main event. With Raw, there's an extra one because there's 2 on the hours. Jacy Jayne going for a sharpshooter? Got a little boo. Megan says, I have a question I've been asking on Get the Tables. Take a look at the wrestlers on screen. If you didn't know they were wrestlers, what would you assume they did for a living? Well, Natalya has the whole bondage librarian thing going on. Well, I can imagine her as a librarian, but one who's like, I'm kinky. She's not. Like, she's not.
but she wants to tell people that she is. Sonya Deville's got the MMA training and she's got the gear for it. That was a lovely snap suplex. So I'd give her that. But I don't really know Jacy, Jayne or Gigi Dolan. I don't really know them very well. I know Dolan better. It's a lovely segment for Natalya. Crowd showing some respect for it. I don't really know them. Sai says, also Vince McMahon thinking Gigi needs to change her hair colour away from Becky's if she's going to the main roster. That is Vince McMahon thinking. It will not be happening. Officer says, fun question. If FIFA did a 30 footballs Royal Rumble, who do you think would win? Depends who'd be playing. Like, it genuinely depends who's actually going to be involved. If Steven Gerrard's involved, certainly it changes things. If Roy Keane's involved, it changes a lot of things. If Luis Suarez is involved, then why does nobody have hands? Someone's been biting, etc. So it really depends who's doing it. I do think Jordan Henderson's in with a shout. He brutal. Sonya Deville thrown very close to Bayley. I think Sonya might be about to punch Bayley, and I'm okay with it. Sean says I would think Jacy's a rock star. I could see that. She's got that grungy feel to her. Yes, Connor, exactly that. That works perfectly for me. Stewart says as soon as Sonya isn't in, the match speeds up. Well, to be fair, Natalya's come in with the intention of speeding it up. Quite often wrestlers will be there to slow it down. That is a thing that happens. They're down with the headbutts, fair point. Obviously, as a Tottenham supporter, I'd be happy with that. Well, to be fair, how do you think Harry Kane would fare? Because I've got to be honest, not that great. Eric Dyer, though. Natalya is still very much leading the match. She took charge a while back. Gigi Dolan could be in trouble here. Not legal. Given that she's not legal, I would have really hoped that she... Oh, that's a proper pin. Toxic Attraction pick up the win. Not a huge surprise to me. Natalya and Sonya I did expect to go through to take on Raquel and Aaliyah. It does look like Toxic Attraction were meant to be the heel team there. We know that Io and Dakota are going to reach the final. So that does suggest that Raquel and Aaliyah are still going to win in the next round. We'll see how it plays out. If they make Gigi and Jacy heel enough, they'll be good finalists. After all, they have history. Megan says, I reckon Natty would do something with cats. Do you reckon she'd run like one of those cat cafes? Sonya being MMA, naturally. Toxic Attraction with bartenders. Yes, they've got that Coyote Ugly feel about them, haven't they? Dakota is... Yes, she genuinely is a streamer. You can see just by the colour of her hair. She's vibrant. Io would be a gym teacher, like 100%. Sami Zayn is being blocked from accessing Roman Reigns, but not by the Usos for once. It's not the strongest. I expected a stronger pop for Sami. I think people might just be playing along a little bit. Now there it is. There it is in force. Agreed, Justin. Officer says, I have a hypothetical Final Four of Vinnie Jones, Akin Fenwa, obviously. So correct. Roman seems happy enough to see Sami, to be fair. Sergio Ramos, good show. Good show. Megan says, just a fun little game to play with each segment, just imagining what everyone would do. It's a good show. I can imagine Sami Zayn as a genuine children's entertainer. Like, you know how you've got those TV shows like Mr. Tumble? I think Mr. Tumble or something like that. Where he's just hosting the show and playing different characters and making lots of voices. I could see that. Roman's different. Like, I could imagine Roman being one of those disgruntled detectives in like a Law and Order or a CSI. If you're a Brooklyn Nine-Nine fan, Roman's the Vulture. Roman's a vulture. And he's happy about it. At this point, Sean, I don't think so. It doesn't quite fit with the impending return. No, Kieran, we will not see the Usos tonight. Gotcha, Ofa. Whatever works for you. Now, Sami's just bitched about the Usos. Roman and Sami are being friendly. For now. Something very bad's about to happen, isn't it? Don't answer the phone. Don't answer the phone. Don't answer the phone. Don't answer the phone. Don't answer his phone. Don't answer his phone. Don't answer his phone. Megan says, in this instance, Roman would have his own gym empire and Sami would be a podcast host or shock jock. Ever seen Dodgeball? Can imagine him running a gym. A dodgeball style. Connor says this does not end well for Sami. You are correct. Okay, Jay's upset about something. Trouble at the border is accurate. Sami, this is a good time to say, I've got your back. I mean, that also works, Megan. Who do you share all this pirate booty with? Roman has no idea what the actual show is happening. I don't understand what's happening, but Roman is just really nice. This cannot end well. Roman just refusing to agree with that as a concept. One thing, okay. Kevin Owens gets a pop there. This is an extremely good segment. Very well acted. Oh, Jared Berry saying Sami is a camp counselor. I like what you're saying there. I can feel that. I can imagine him being that guy who turns a chair around and says, let's rap. And you just sort of hate him. He's a guy in South Park with a puppet. Alfred says literally like a whole 10 seconds. Problematic, but I think I deserve a shout out if I do, in fact, make the sign. Oh no, 100%. 100%, mate. If you're making a sign and it's popping up on Clash of the Castle, I would be thrilled and you would absolutely get plenty credit for it. I am thinking when it comes to the stream, particularly the difference in the YouTube one, there is a lower latency mode for YouTube. It's not one I use for spoiler warning because I get too many chats. But I certainly think, because there is a difference, and I'm aware that there's a difference. So maybe it is a case that I should go lower latency, which will make it, closer to live. I usually put a slight delay on because I'm usually a little bit behind on questions. That gives me that little bit extra time. But it also makes it feel like I've been behind forever. Connor says, Roman to cost Sami the title at Clash or the match tonight? I think it's more likely that Kevin Owens costing the match tonight. Pardon me. As you build back towards what looks like another something between Roman and Kevin Owens, or it could be that Roman is just continuing that thing he does where he feuds with everybody. Absolutely, Megan. Absolutely. Sean says, can Can Jay travel outside of the United States, or is it just Jimmy that can't? Jay can. Jay's absolutely fine for it. Thomas says, is Solo definitely injured? He is. He would not be involved in these segments anyway. Officer says, Sami kind of reminds me of Luis from Ant-Man. Oh, okay. Okay. Megan, you've introduced a fantastic game here, and I'm really enjoying every single second of it. Genuinely, what would we do without you? You bring the stats, you bring the games. You are literally the entertainer. Bailey says, for those of us who thought Ric Flair would bow out gracefully after his last match, did any of us actually think that? He's all over social media this week promoting a cannabis dispensary on one side and another selling chicken wings. He definitely wants another match. He does. He doesn't want to stop. He has no intention of actually stopping. What I would say is that it's actually a Ric Flair impersonator selling the woo crispy, woo tangy Kentucky Fried Chicken. That's yeah, it's an impersonator. It's not the actual Ric Flair. I'm interested to see if anyone actually gets that reference. I hope so. Jarrah says, have you seen any of the A&E documentaries? They are done very well. I don't get them over here to my knowledge. I believe they're Peacock only, so I've not been able to, but they sound like they're quite well done, and I'm excited to see some of it when I get the chance. Moxie said, I'd love to see Roman versus KO in an Extreme Rules match. We've already seen them in a Last Man Standing match. It was quite close. Like, these two have had a long feud. Will says, he said it that Sami and KO might be a tag team, that it was being pitched. Indeed. That was being pitched. Also the idea of Kevin Owens being a face again. They've gone through a lot of different ideas with Kevin Owens as to what to do next. This is not his final form. I'll say that, and I'll say that with a bit of a wry smile. This is not his final form. Sean says, I feel bad for Zoe Stark. She just came back and is injured again. Yeah, well, it's bad luck for her and her tag team partner. Hopefully she'll be back shortly. Larry says, Sami would be a sidekick on the breakfast show on the 7th biggest radio station in Quebec. Yeah, but he'd think he was the top guy. Like, he'd be... Oh, God, it's Piers Morgan. Oh, God, no. 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 Oh, no. I've hit something I don't like. Ugh. Megan said, it started a couple of weeks ago with the 2 triple threats, wondering what the likes of AJ, Miz, Ciampa, Ali, Ziggler and Gable would do. Interesting. Alpha says, fantasy booking to build on Jimmy's inability to travel outside the US. Jay versus Montez at Clash for the titles. Montez wins, takes the credit, causes a downfall and a rivalry with Angelo Dawkins. There are easy ways to do it. But of course, there will be no competing for the Tag Team Championship, the Clash of the Castle, because they can't. We'll see about Saudi Arabia, though. Johnny Mendes says, hey, Tom. Who would you choose right now to eventually dethrone Roman? Right now, I believe it should be Cody when he comes back. I would still choose Seth. I still think Seth's the right call. But also, if they can just make it Nakamura, I would still take that. I would like to see... Oh, hey, Trish Stratus is coming. Huh. I would also very much love to see it be someone lower down the card. Someone who just gets a nice bit of momentum behind them. Give me Chad Gable. Just give him a nice winning streak and make it happen. I'd take AJ as well. I think AJ would be perfect. Bobby Lashley. There's some good options, but I think Seth's the one. Connor says, what are your thoughts on the Glazers finally starting to spend cash because they're now under pressure with a viable player now coming out. I think as the Glazers written all over it. We'll take the players but still want them gone. It's definitely not a player that they were planning to get. It's a Ten Hag player. Eriksson, not so much. I do feel that people get a lot more involved than they should, I'll say that. As regards the Glazers, how they bought the company was criminal and it should be tried as such. Kieran says Seth's the only guy Roman still hasn't beaten. Very true. Larry suggests Otis. Again, not something I would hate. I also like the idea of it just being Gunther. I think you could make that work. You don't have to have him as a heel. You don't have to have him as anything. Just have him wrestle great matches and win clean, much as he did against Shinsuke Nakamura. Which, of course, we're seeing a replay of this from our main event last week. Solid match and a proper introduction for Gunther to the main roster. I do feel like they're doing a good job with him so far, and knowing that it's going to be at Clash at the Castle, it's an upgrade. I dare say Ricochet has no chance. Corbin has no chance. So it leaves us with Sami, who I feel has the lowest chance, Sheamus, and Madcap. Triple M are in the ring. We're getting closer and closer to the actual point at which they actually step into the ring proper, but we're still not there yet. Or maybe we will. Maybe tonight's the night. Because here come the Hit Row. Over says, unbelievable that Tom hasn't complained about this goddamn Joe Joyce advert. Who's Joe Joyce? No idea who that is. Connor says, still no idea how that was allowed. Indeed. Hit Row is perfect in this environment because it means that Maxine Dupree can step into the ring as well. Also perfect for Triple M, Judgment Day. Like, I feel bad for Maxine Dupree in that environment. But Maxine Dupree will be wrestling. She's just not wrestling yet in the same way that Triple M aren't wrestling yet. But hey, that might be about to change. We completely lost track of the camera there. Alpha says, what are your thoughts on Tottenham's chances to actually win something this season? I think they've got a good chance for something like an FA Cup. I don't think they've got a chance at the league, but something like the FA Cup I think is a reasonable prediction. So it says, now I need a bucket of Georgia Gold Chicken. Woo, honey mustard. Good man. Justin says, Usos versus Zayn and KO is going to be great eventually. I think that is the perfect match and the perfect way to take the championships away from the Usos. Max Dupree continues to stand far too close. Oh, that dropkick came out of nowhere. Triple M about to get physical. We're kicking off into a promo. Looks like we won't actually see wrestling on it. Megan says, this recap I don't mind. Nakamura and Gunther was mint. It was indeed. Moxie said Madcap has a size strength and he's been used in the main event picture with Drew, Usos, Roman, Paul, Theory, indeed. Sean says, according to a post by Wrestling World, CC, it's been 1,461 days since Alexa's last singles women's title reign, not counting a recent 24/7 title win. Very true, she was told at that time that she would be out of the title picture for a considerable period. It's been a considerable period. Jarrett says, Gunther looks weird with the weight loss, can't get used to it. You will in time, much as you slowly get used to saying Gunther rather than Volta. Larry says, how about R-Truth beating Roman, running off with the title and hiding in a box for 18 months? Stranger things have happened, let's be honest. Alpha says, Tom, you haven't seen that advert about the boxers that can't trash talk? I see every ad break. No? Oh, no, I have. You're right. You're right. It's not good. It's not good, but you're right. See, this is important to establish who Hit Row are. I'm not loving it. So Maxine Dupree's apparently into it. That's her storyline. I'm unconvinced. Megan says, I don't mind this actually. I'm not convinced, but I do think it's important. I also think they're slightly out of sync. Could take or leave it. I'd rather have the Triple M segment that we were going to get. I know you're back. I spotted that. Pat McAfee's doing what he can to try and get it over. The crowd don't really seem into it. Alpha says, one person I miss is Robert Stone. I remember as a kid watching him on GTS Wrestling as Robbie E and loving it. When I found out he's been signed by WWE and was just a manager, wasn't too happy. He's been very good in the role. I do feel he's got more that they could draw on. Sean says, not sure if Hit Row are heels or faces. They are faces at the moment. Faces. Justin said, this is going way too long. I agree. And Connor says, I like Hit Row, but this meh. I think that's fair. I get that you need to properly introduce them. That isn't how I personally would have done it. If you're currently watching on YouTube, please remember to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already. We are currently, I believe, on 1,504 subscribers. We have lost one since spoiler warning. Oh no, we've gone back up to 1,505. Yay! 1,505. We've broken 1,500. Now the subscriber gain has slowed down a little bit since the last month has been our strongest ever period of growth. But that's absolutely fine. That's how YouTube works, ebbs and flows. You know, up and down wavelengths and all that jazz. I'm very happy with it. If you're watching on Twitch as well, of course, hit that follow. We're only 10 away from 500. Been very close to 500 for a while now. Can I say that, Tom, did you know they're back? They're all the way back. I did. I heard them all say it, and I saw them return last week. Oh, I agree with that. I'm also not really a fan of rap. Fanatic Gamer seems unconvinced. Sean says, your thoughts on the Ezekiel family we saw on Raw? I don't know what thoughts you're looking for. I mean, that's his family. His dad was real pissed off, like genuinely really pissed off. I wouldn't be surprised if we see them get more involved in future. You know, like when we saw Kurt Angle's family a lot more, and like they looked really similar. Like that. Moxie says, I feel like Sami's eating the pin in this match. Quite possibly. I mean, he's Teflon. Doesn't matter how many times he loses, it always comes straight back. Megan says, it's almost as if there's a Saudi show on the horizon, so they need to remind people about a Saudi wrestler on their books, so we don't all go, who? When he gets a 15-20 minute match at the show. Fair. I mean, I wouldn't mind a Triple M Hit Row show in Saudi Arabia. I wouldn't watch it. Still wouldn't watch it, but it would probably be good for them. Bailey says, of all the performers coming out of the Performance Center era, I thought Sonya Deville had a real push ahead. What will it take to elevate her? That's actually really simple. Someone who gives a shit. It disappoints me that we are yet to see someone who actually will just give her what she needs, but at the same time, they were doing that. And then unfortunately, a fan decided to be a dickhead. Like, of the highest degree. And it really, really screwed things up. Sonya Deville was en route to the SmackDown Women's Championship at that time, as was Mandy Rose. And their momentum was just absolutely destroyed. It's not her fault. It's not the fault of anyone else. Well, in the company, it's the fault of one person who decided that they had to break into her damn home. And that is just never acceptable. Alfred says, can they be back if they were barely here to begin with? True. I've still not seen them wrestle more than a 2-minute match. If you say so, Gamer. Megan says, I wonder how the new character Mansoor will go down in the very conservative Saudi Arabia. I'd imagine not well. Well, to be fair, I don't know if you know this, but the WWE is fixing Saudi Arabia. This is just the next evolution of them fixing it. Connor says a fan took dickheadry to another level. And Sean, thank you, says Tom is the one. So because I'm still ripping stuff up, I've got a little black finger. I just black mark on my finger. Pop smudging. So either one with my little smudge and the thumb as well. We are getting a commercial for the Broken Skull session. It is about as honest as Charlotte gets. Alfred says, as someone who plays a lot of Universe mode on 2K22, I built a rivalry that was absolutely perfect. GM Deville versus Billion Dollar Princess Stephanie McMahon. That would be a big help. Stephanie is not expected to step into the ring. Hello, Scarlett. There is not a tongue card in tarot. That's not a thing. I do feel that Karrion Kross doesn't actually fit the aesthetic of Scarlett Bordeaux. No, once again, Karrion Kross is not focused on Roman. He's focused on Drew. Please do remember in the near future, the guy who actually said that Karrion Kross was there for Drew and not Roman. I'd be my good self. Jared says, whatever came of the break-in, did he go to prison? I do believe that he did. Kieran says, what are you ripping up? You're just keeping your fingers busy. I noticed you doing that last stream as well. Kieran, I have OCD, so obsessive compulsive disorder, which means I have an obsessive need to control everything around me. Now, there are ways that I keep it calm. For example, I have my shower controls upside down. Like the whole thing is upside down, so you got to turn it the other way around. And that's important because I need to always maintain a lack of control in some areas, because if things become perfect, they have to stay perfect, and then I become obsessed with just maintaining the order in my house. Ripping up paper into chaotic elements is my control mechanism. Keeps me lovely and calm. Because I can't control this show. I can't control this chat. And that's okay. It should be okay. I like the chaos of this chat. But I do have to try and keep myself calm as well. So yeah, being on stream is a quite stressful thing for me. But I found ways to keep it chill. So yeah, I'm just ripping up it's a local newspaper that pops through free through my letterbox. And it's like, yeah, that is perfect. It's been a while since we've had a wrestling match. Sheamus now getting his entrance. It looks like this will also be our draw segment, this match, which I like. Connor says, when I first joined your channel, Tom, and heard you ripping up paper, I thought you were rolling cigarettes. That's fair, I feel. Is it as distracting as Nick has been suggesting to me recently? Because Nick has stopped me from doing it during the podcast recordings. So what I'm doing instead is I've got an Allen key and I just twirl it. So I just twirl that. I've always got to be doing something with my hands. I'm twirling it right now. Like, is it that distracting and should I stop? Because I can. As an aside to that though, I actually don't smoke. I'm the only person in my family to not smoke. I'm not really a fan. Never done it. Never been tempted. Sean says 2K23 was revealed recently. Wouldn't be surprised if Cody is the cover star. Would be a good shout. Maybe pulled back now that he's not like in play. Matt Riddle, I think, would also make a good one. Kieran wants to make Scarlett the star. Over says, why does Karrion Kross look like Laurie from Wrestle Talk? I don't know. I don't watch Wrestle Talk. I was briefly invited into their office for a meeting about working for them, and then they made me an offer and then gave the job to someone else. Megan says, why does Scott look like Iggy Azalea? I don't really know Iggy Azalea, so I can't say. Moxie says, Tom, do you think we get Cross coming out today? Yeah. I think there'll definitely be something involving McIntyre and Cross. Even if it's just a TikTok again. Justin says, who do you think needs to switch shows at the draft? I'm going Bliss to SmackDown and New Day to Raw. The New Day definitely need a refresh. I think Drew needs a refresh. I got my eye on Corbin as well. Kevin Owens the other way around. And I think Asuka to SmackDown also makes a lot of sense. Thanks for asking, Kieran. I actually really like talking about it. Like, I am technically clinically insane. And that's okay. Johnny says, I assume the draft will be announced shortly. It was rumoured to be on the 5th and the 9th. It will be announced shortly. I expect we'll hear our first announcement of it, as it were, on the Clash at the Castle show. That's true, Ofer. That's true. I still like to try and be a decent person. If the only thing I know about you is that you're a little bit of a perv, I'm not really for that. Like, these are still people that we're talking about. Like, I can say that there are certain people in wrestling that I find attractive. One of them, in fact, is in the ring right now. But I'm not going to define them entirely by that. Sami Zayn gets to come out last, knowing that the crowd are going to pop heavy for him. That's a great pop. This is the sort of show where you should be focusing on the guy. Connor says, not annoying at all. Was just confused at first and I realised and I barely noticed it. Cool. And Kieran says the same. Keep doing it if it helps you. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. Jared says, isn't distracting. Didn't know you were doing it until you mentioned it. Well, I got asked the question and I think it's a fair question. Yeah, great. Brilliant. Fantastic. I do get a bit self-conscious about it, so you get what I mean. Sean says, I wish Scarlett would wrestle. I heard she's good in the ring. She's good in the ring. I wouldn't put her like a horsewoman level, but she's good in the ring. And I do think she'll step into it eventually. Triple H wants her to wrestle. Justin says, who's your pick to win this? There are rumours about Sheamus versus Gunther because Sheamus is close to the UK. I think Madcap Moss is in with a strong shout though. Sami Zayn just stepping back and basking in the song. I hope Sami Zayn ends up on the Clash at the Castle card because we here in the UK love that man and we'll greet him very similarly to this. Oh, for yes, it is actually Happy Corbin, yeah. I think he's an attractive man. Sean says the Montreal crowd would pop for Maurice if she was there. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? Sai says Sami has an unfortunate habit. He's really good at comedy, so he's saddled with it. Hope they give him a babyface run again sometime. We'd love him here. We would love him here. Very. Everyone's getting involved. You're absolutely correct. I do think Sami eventually will get to sort of turn it around. I just don't know when that day will be. Megan says, so we all know Sami would host a podcast and Corbin was the ultra Bitcoin bro. He would. He would. What would the rest do for a living? Sheamus would be running a bar. I think we all know. We all know that Sheamus would be running a bar. Ricochet, I'm not sure. Like, I want to say Olympic gymnast, but it's hard to say. Ricochet, I'm really not sure. Madcap Moss also. There's not much to go on with Madcap Moss. Like, he'd be the comedian that dies on stage every single night. Like, every single night. He just dies on stage. But he thinks he's great, so why not? Alpha says, this reminds me, Sami Zayn, 3-time IC champ, is 80 rated on 2K22. Who else is 80 rated? Machine Gun Kelly. Connor says, Tommy, are you allowed to say who Wrestle Talk hired over you? And do you want to say? I'm just very curious as I do enjoy Wrestle Talk. Yeah, I have no issue saying that. So I have an email after the meeting that I had with Wrestle Talk where I laid out what I do. Now, what I do is what you guys are seeing right now. And as a result of that, the meeting and the discussions that we had, I received an email from Ollie Davis essentially saying, we'd be interested in working with you. This is what we'd like you to do for us. And one of them was more live content. So I would essentially helm a lot of the live content for Wrestle Talk, interview wrestlers, and so on and so forth. But at the time, there just wasn't much interest from WWE PR in working with Wrestle Talk. I reached out. It was a no. Now, a live show did happen on Wrestle Talk shortly after that, and I think that's all you'll need to put all the 2 and 2 together. Johnny Mendes says, I thought you were peeling potatoes this whole time. I like that. Kieran says, I remember that time he came out on Alexa Bliss's talk show. That was so funny when they kept playing his entrance. Good times. Good times. Sami just knows how to do it, you know. Moxie says I would do KO versus Sami or Sami versus Ricochet at WWE Clash. I'd do the tag match. Street Profits versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Why not? Gym trainer, absolutely, Connor. He'd be the fitness bro. Absolutely. Your £20 would be wasted, Ofa. Sean says, I miss Alexa's talk show. What happened to it? They have other people who talk now. So they don't really worry about talk shows all that much. If you need a second hint, the person in question recently lost their verified status. And I only spotted it recently, and I don't know why. And I'd love to know why, but I don't know why. Interesting stuff. The match is still going and the crowd is still hot after coming back from the break. That's a good sign. Lots of scrapping going on at the same time. Ricochet, I feel, definitely has the least chance of winning this. Like, if Corbin won it, I wouldn't hate it because that would just be Volta beating the ever-living crap out of Baron Corbin. And I think everyone would be pretty happy with that. No Ofa. We are still seeing wrestling across both sides. Good stuff. Yeah, I know, Megan. I did the exact same thing. I've been trying to get verified on Twitter for a long time, but apparently PW Touch don't list me as a journalist. Which suck. Johnny says, Tom, here's a question. What is one of your wrestling opinions that would get you slaughtered on Twitter? Well, primarily, I don't think CM Punk's particularly special. That's one of the main ones for me. I think he tapped into a really clear thing where he just really hated the boss and got that Austin push a little bit, but his matches never really did much for me. But at the same time, you guys know this, I'm the wrestling fan who doesn't really enjoy wrestling. I'm a sports entertainment guy. I feel that is what would get me slaughtered. Hector says, I know I may be late to saying this, but that Karrion Kross promo was so good and to the point. The flashbacks of young Drew were a nice touch. Triple H just completely erased the Vince run in my mind, and Karrion is finally coming across as a big deal. There's a lot of stalkers all of a sudden in the WWE. He's stalking, Dexter Lumis is stalking. There's a lot of stalking. Brief combination between Corbin and Moss again. They've got the chemistry, why not use it? So I said they want an all-Irish tag team. Sheamus and Ricochet get it done for the castle. Well, Sheamus likely to do double duty at the end of the night for the dark match. Ofer says the promo for Tottenham vs Wolves gets me angry that I have to be up before 12:30. Yeah, I'm just not going to watch it. The match I'm interested in is on Monday, so I'm all set. John says Nixon Newell said she can't wrestle right now because she doesn't have a visa or green card. She responded to fans asking if she is retired. She said no, she's just home streaming video games. And yeah, that's absolutely true. She was not fired because of the same reason that everyone else was. It wasn't budget cuts for her. It was giving up. It was injuries. It was all of those issues as listed there. The WWE basically just gave up on her. Johnny says, I feel wrestling and entertainment need a balance. Without characters and storylines and gripping stuff, 5-star matches don't mean that much. Very true, but at the same time, Jay White is my favourite wrestler in the world. Like, I think AJ Styles is the best wrestler in the world, but Jay White is my favourite wrestler in the world. And, of course, Jay White, New Japan, a lot more of a focus on wrestling, but New Japan also has Toru Yano, so... I love Toru Yano. He's everything I want in my life. Megan says, Sasha Banks is to wrestling what Beyonce is to music. Yes, there is undeniable talent, but the level of toxic hero worship and insistence that she's the best to ever exist overinflates her importance to the point where it is unbearable. I get feelings like that sometimes too. I think she's a great wrestler. I think her fans are a pain in the arse. At times. Some of them. The crew... Not for me. Not for me. Kieran says, I'm watching the Spurs v Wolves, Bournemouth vs Arsenal, Chelsea v Leeds, Man City vs Newcastle, and United vs Liverpool, so I'm going to have a fun weekend. At some point, I'm still very much of the opinion that I have to launch Colohue Football and just do like football match watch parties. So I'm working out to do on that, but there are so many people in here who are genuinely interested in football that I think I'd have a decent crowd for it. Alpha says, in Universe mode, I actually have a team of Finn Balor and Jordan Devlin called Irish Strong Style. Nice name, that's perfect. Thomas says, the bruise on Sheamus' leg looks nasty. Ed says, very similar. Did you see the scratch on Oh! Sheamus has somehow taken a big beating. That's a friction burn, isn't it? That looks like a friction burn. What's he been rubbing against? That's a weird phrase. Hector says, with the World Cup being broadcast across Fox networks, could this affect SmackDown if they're in the same time slot at any point? Yes, they would be preempted, and SmackDown will be kicked onto a different Fox channel. That's the plan. Bailey says, he's an unpopular opinion for Twitter. Today's WWE is better, top to bottom, than the Attitude Era. The late 1990s had stars, but less talent on the lower card, and there was a ton of objectionable content that got past the networks. I completely agree with all of that. The Attitude Era is considered to be one of the best eras of wrestling. Go back and watch it. The actual wrestling matches used to last 2 or 3 minutes at most. Yes, Nixon does stream on Twitch, I believe. Sheamus is going through a phase of smacking everyone. Yes, Connor, that's something I'm considering. I also play a lot of Football Manager, Kieran. Used to stream Football Manager, actually. Johnny says Sasha fans will go to war just to get it across that she's a draw. Yeah, and she is. And I believe that. But the idea that she's the biggest draw of all time, that's where I start to get annoyed. Alright. We do have a lot of fans of the idea here. Cool. Sean says a friend of mine in his universe mode has Marseille, Cesaro and Zion Quinn in Triple M along with Max Dupree. That's the right way to do things. Right way to do things. Good to know, Si. So a lot of people interested in Colohue football there. Megan says I had a good moment with my brother because of football. He saw I was having a bad time last night and went, right then, Ferris Sporkle, get me some Newcastle quizzes to go through with a nice bonding moment and a good distraction from the pain in my head. I get that. I do hope you're okay. I really do. I know you're going through a bit of a time at the minute, but we'd be very unhappy if you weren't here. Like in the chat, chatting to us. You can say that with absolute certainty, and I think everyone else would say that very happily as well. You keep introducing the fun games, the fun stats. It's just more fun with you around. Kieran said if someone knows it, can they whisper me Nixon's Twitch if it's okay with Tom? I'm absolutely fine with that, yep. Absolutely fine with that. If anyone has the link, you can't post links, but we do have mods. Bailey says Sasha could win the Raw title and the crew would demand she wins the other belts too. Yeah. Nothing will ever be enough for the crew. Nothing. If you are watching at the moment on YouTube, Sami's wrestling as a face. Sami is full on wrestling as a face right now. If you are watching on YouTube, please do remember to hit that thumbs up. Every like helps and every like has a chance of helping us to find new people, new growth, and a little bit more income to make this a bit more full time. So please remember to hit like and subscribe if you haven't. Sami Zayn is genuinely wrestling as a face tonight. I don't feel there's any chance he's winning because otherwise Roman's going to be upset. Connor says, I can imagine Tom on a football podcast with someone, no idea who, just someone for him to bounce off and just real life football discussion and debate. I certainly considered it, reaching out to someone that I know who also has their own YouTube channels, Omega Luke. Could be fun. Alpha says, Tom, if you do Football Manager, will you be doing FIFA career mode? I feel once you've played Football Manager, FIFA career mode just isn't good enough. Just isn't good enough. And he says, thank you, means a lot. The good noise of watch-alongs are a help. Glad to hear it. This is a hell of a match so far. I'm really enjoying this. Johnny says, here's an unpopular opinion. All the stars of the past, Hogan, Goldberg, I put Steve Austin in there. As character would be heavily filtered today. They wouldn't get over in today's world. Steve Austin would not get over in this environment. I don't think The Rock would get over in this environment. I genuinely don't think The Rock would get over. Triple H would. Sean says the crew attack everyone that doesn't talk about Sasha, like during what recently happened. They attacked Alexa, Roman, Jimmy, etc. for not saying anything. Yep, disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. It's harassment and they need to stop. Kieran says, I found it now, but unless she has VODs and clips disabled, she hasn't streamed on it. You gotta remember, you can set your stream up not to record things. Sami Zayn is kayfabing an injury. Not sure what's going on there. Kind of says, I do love me some Omega Luke on YouTube. Great FM content. I agree. Great guy as well. Hector says, Tom, can we just cancel Vince Russo? His recent comments about Dakota Kai, another reason why people like him shouldn't have a platform. I don't know what his recent comments are. And I don't like the idea that he's been making comments that people don't like about Dakota Kai. I'm not a big Vince Russo guy. Vince Russo joined Sportskeeda after I left. He may have been one of the reasons that I left, let's be honest. And the pivot that they made afterwards. One day I'll tell you all the reasons why I left. Certainly it's not the reasons that were shared afterwards by people who were not at all involved. Kieran says, imagine a superstar debuting now called The Rock. It would be laughed at and hated so much now. It would. It absolutely would. Especially Rocky Maivia. You'd still get Die Rocky Die, but what would happen is it'd go to AEW. It says Omega Luke was doing some good YouTube 2K22 stuff. He was indeed. I do believe he still does. He just doesn't publicise it as much now that it already has its own little following. Johnny says he said Dakota Kai doesn't look like a TV star because she doesn't look like Sable or Sonny or Chyna, basically. Dakota Kai is one of my favourite wrestlers in the goddamn world, and anyone who doesn't recognise the insatiable star power of that woman needs to basically just... They need to stop watching wrestling if you can't see the star power, let's be honest. Ofa says, here's a relatively popular opinion. Kevin Owens dropping the Universal title to Goldberg at Fastlane 17 was one of the worst title changes of the past 10 years. Dan The Rock beating CM Punk. No, I agree. I agree. Completely agree with that. I'm not a Goldberg fan in any way, shape or form. I don't understand why they keep bringing him back, but they're not going to be bringing him back anymore by sounds of it. Megan says, The Rock's charisma would carry him through a lot. It is something that a lot of old school fans don't want to hear. Their idols wouldn't last 5 minutes now. The only ones who could in terms of talent would have been Eddie, Owen and Brett. Maybe HBK and Triple H with the charisma loophole. Very true. The Rock, though, made himself popular by destroying other people. The whole hermaphrodite thing with Michael Cole, I ain't flying. He would have been cancelled. Alpha says, Die Rocky Die actually just means the Rocky the. True. Very true. Very true. My Eve soapbox. My what soapbox, Ed? I do have my soapboxes, that's true. Connor says, in my opinion, the worst was Goldberg beating The Fiend for the title in Saudi Arabia. Yep. A late pivot by Vince McMahon to say, yep, we're just going to get Roman and Goldberg together and doesn't matter who gets hurt. Evie. Evie. But yes. Kota was Evie in Japan. I love the range. Bailey says you can't help but like Sami, especially after his Broken Skull session appearance. The guests work best when they're speaking out of character, which is why Charlotte's recent appearance is disappointing. She really didn't break character. She doesn't know how. Charlotte has always been heavily scripted, and one of the main reasons for that is just a certain lack of confidence when being herself. She actually feels much the same as Alexa Bliss does, that her real personality is boring. And that's not true of either of them, but it is an insecurity that they've both been public about. Megan says, one thing I hope ends now Vince is gone. No more panic calls to Brock or Bill when things aren't going his way. That is over. Like, that is full on over. Baron Corbin shouldn't have kept running there. He made himself look silly. Is that a We Want Tables or a We Want Sammy chant? I think it's We Want Sammy. Ricochet really selling that big boo. Ofa says, Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar. WrestleMania 20 was the most grueling thing I've ever seen. Yeah, that was a thing that happened. Was it worse than Triple H versus Scott Steiner? I don't think so, but also I kind of do. Sean said, here's a question for everyone, including you, Tom. If you had to pick a woman other than Maxine to join Triple M, who would you pick and why? Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose would have been perfect for it. Devin says, I wonder what plans they have for Trish. It's mostly going to be talking, but Bayley will be involved as well. She'll be the catalyst for a brawl. Oh, Kieran suggests Carmella. Connor says, I like Omega Luke even more as well because he supports a great football team. I've been enjoying his reactions to that football team recently. But he's just a good guy. Like, just a genuinely great guy. Many years ago, I think it was 2019, we recorded an 1.5 hour long podcast the day before the Royal Rumble. Just because I was working with people in and around him, and he invited me on, and I was like, yeah, absolutely, I'll completely do that. In that, I mentioned Dean Ambrose was looking to leave. The file unfortunately got corrupted. We weren't able to launch it and we didn't have time to re-record. 6 hours after it would have been published, the news broke via PW Torch that Dean Ambrose was planning to leave. That would have made us both. Imagine I'd broken that story at the time before it became public knowledge. Everyone would have been talking about Tom Colohue. Not quite, Ed. I get what you're saying, but that's not quite true. Uffa says, I'm actually going to clash with a friend that doesn't watch wrestling. How do I put everything that happens on the show into context? Right. There are ways to do it. What I like to do is Game of Thrones it. So, what's your friend's favourite show? If, for example, it's Game of Thrones, you do things like, so this is a Miz. He's Tyrion Lannister. Not a great fighter, bit of a coward, really likes to talk. I always feel that's a great way to do things. This is Sasha Banks. She's Daenerys Targaryen. She's never actually where the action is, in any way, shape or form, but everyone's always talking about her. Kind of works, doesn't it? I believe Sami Zayn has returned. This guy's a face tonight. Jared says, anything Norm Bray? I know you've heard it 1,000 times. I'm sorry. No need to be sorry. You're fine to ask the question. The most recent information is in the video with Bray's face on it, though. There is no new information beyond that at this point in time. Hector says, I heard an interesting opinion that New Japan is very repetitive. Okada winning his 4th G1 a second in a row. Kind of makes sense. I feel like Okada is above major wins and titles is such a star. It's a little confusing. I personally would have gone Jay White. I gotta be honest, I would have gone Jay, but I'm biased. But there was a couple of years ago, Sonata came very close. I do feel they need to pivot away from Okada a little bit. Quincy Elliott, okay. Megan says, I would have said Ginny. She's my pick from the start, and that hasn't changed. I like what Maxine is doing so far. Connor says, my reactions have been very similar. It's just pain. Alpha says, it's funny because Mania 20 was both my least and most favourite Mania matches of all time on the card. Lesnar versus Goldberg and DX versus Name Redacted. And Sheamus does indeed pick up the win. The rumours were true. It's an obvious rumour, to be fair. We are where we are with it. Sami Zayn came very close. That is a hell of a match for Sami Zayn. Also, to be fair, Sheamus earned it too. The bruises on his body, he has earned it. And it'll be a hell of a match. I'm really looking forward to that. Really looking forward to that. Johnny says, I never got Vince's philosophy of pushing talent with the look, who were big even if they weren't talented, and that small guys can't draw. Russo clearly still thinks you need the look, and it's bogus. Yeah, Vince eventually did learn otherwise. Particularly in the last 5 years or so, he did start pushing people like AJ. It took Chris Jericho to convince him, but he did eventually get there. Megan says, I didn't get any credit for saying NXT was going to be in Survivor Series a month before it was announced. Even with proof, I wasn't allowed to be smug about it. I try not to be smug. Like, I hope no one thinks I'm smug. If you think I'm smug, let me know, because I need to fix that. We've had a Karrion Kross vignette. We're now getting a Drew McIntyre vignette. But you'll know that Drew McIntyre is not focused on Karrion Kross. But Karrion Kross is focused on Drew McIntyre. Over says he likes Reservoir Dogs. This is Ricochet. He's basically Tim Roth. Ed says Gunther is going to make Sheamus a tomato. I mean, if you're going to chop someone, chop Sheamus. The guy's made to be chopped. Connor says Sheamus and Volta's chests are going to be it's going to be a strong style match. It's going to be a war. Stuart Ridley says it's going to be some hard hitting at the Clash with that match. Now, it's going to feel like a clash then. Sean says, I know he won't win, but if Sheamus wins, he'll join the list of Grand Slam champions in WWE history. Sadly, he will not be winning. This SmackDown's flown. I don't know whether it's like we've got slightly more viewers in than usual. We have a lot of people chatting away. We're talking about a lot of different things. Megan's giving us a fun game. but this one's flown. Alpha says Gunther and Sheamus are going to be a goddamn wrestling match. Going to be a lot of punches. Hector says imagine the marks Gunther's going to leave on Sheamus. This is a good reward for Sheamus. He's worked hard through the pandemic till now. Has been on a nice run, much deserved. I completely agree. Completely agree. Also, we knew Sheamus was going to get a push. He's literally one of Triple H's favourite people in the world. Johnny says, is the UK event going to become an annual thing? Gutted I couldn't go this year. It really does depend on the level of success of this particular show. The WWE want to make these UK shows a long-term thing. I think we're more likely to see European shows become a long-term thing. Megan says, I wanted to be smug. We're still kind of new to wrestling and I saw it coming a mile off. Yep. It's one of those things. You make your prediction and then people never quite give the credit because they only give the credit to themselves. We all know it. Over says, I think it's because I'm reading chat instead of watching SmackDown. Well, it's a watch-along, you know? It's designed to be a voice in your ear and a side on the screen. So you can follow both things at once. For me, like, SmackDown's there and I'm enjoying it. But if I'm just sat there quietly watching a wrestling match, I get bored. I genuinely get bored. I worry sometimes that I'm talking too much over the promos. So if that's the case, let me know. But I'm aware that quite a few of you during a promo will just mute me. And that's cool. Like, that's fantastic. That's perfect. You do whatever you need to do. Sean says the streak is finally broken. The IC title will be defended on pay-per-view for the first time since Mania 37. Jesus Christ. It was a long time ago. Megan says, imagine how much worse those chops are going to look given how pale Sheamus is. Oh, I know. It's going to be like Daniel Bryan at the Greatest Royal Rumble, the one Saudi show I have actually watched, when Roderick Strong broke him. Kieran says, don't think it'll be annual, could see it every 2 to 3 years though. Johnny Mendes says, here's a question for you, Tom. Who's more over? Jeff Hardy in 2008, Eddie Guerrero in 2004, or Daniel Bryan during the Yes Movement? I was not watching during any of that. I stopped watching in 2001, started watching again in 2014. So honestly, I have no idea. I've caught up as best I can, but I can't really track beyond. Kieran says, I can't just sit there and watch wrestling either. Normally play a game where you don't have to concentrate or watch a watch-along. I think that's just the modern audience, to be honest. Like, there's a lot of wrestling watch-alongs. Firstly, I appreciate you all choosing mine. But there's some great options out there to really enhance the show. So, like, SmackDown can be a good show, but with the right watch-along, it becomes a great show. You know? It's a great show. Ofer says, we need a premium live event at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Such a beautiful stadium. I mean, why not? Like, genuinely, you can make it work in a stadium like that. Oh, Kieran, I do the same thing. I'll be working, like, doing my actual job, which is just, like, it's a data entry job, but it's an as and when job. So you get a load of stuff, you got to transfer, you got to make your spreadsheet, and then you get nothing for a couple of hours. So it sort of balances out. So I've got that there, waiting for work. Then I'll have Football Manager, and then I'll have, like, the Orville, or lately it's been Metalocalypse, just rewatching that, which is on 4OD. The amount of times I've been looking for a show and it turns out it's on the Channel 4 on demand the entire time. It's an amazing service. Connor says, I think I've mentioned this to you in the past that I do a universe with my mate. You have. I decided to make New Legacy. There's Cody and Randy, but I replaced Ted DiBiase with Bron Breakker. Ooh. I do think we'll eventually see a new element of Legacy. It's okay, I actually quite like the dragon. It's amazing how far Cody's come. Johnny Mendez says, sorry for the questions. Why? The more people chat, the busier the show gets. The more YouTube advertises this show, the more subscribers I get, the faster I grow. This is all very good stuff that will eventually get me to a point where I can do this full time. Now, don't get me wrong, it may be a number of years before that happens, but right now I've got 1,506 subscribers. And I'm doing okay. So you ask any question you have. These are Ask Me Anything streams. You go nuts. Okay, we have something new for the Viking Raiders. That's Sarah Logan. Tony says, just cool to hear your perspectives and opinions on wrestling. We usually just hear news and not much about how you look and feel about the products out today. True. spoiler warning is intentionally designed in a way where it's sort of a bit slapdash, you know? I'm trying to fit a lot in a very short space of time in order to try and maintain focus, you know? This is a chill show. This is a relaxed show. This is a show where I don't worry. I can just hang out with my friends. That's all this show is. Sometimes it quietens down, sometimes it slows down. Even if there were 100 people in here and everyone was asking questions, I'd still be real chill. Just real chill. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Johnny, to be honest. That's the dream. As long as you guys are enjoying the show, I'm doing something good. And that's all I want to do. Ross says, with the show being in Wales, I felt Sheamus was the obvious pick. A lot of Irish will travel over. They will, and you're absolutely right. It was the obvious pick, but still, I think it'll be a fun match. Hector says, with Triple H pivoting away from the likes of Hulk Hogan and Goldberg, could we soon not have the likes of Kane or Kid Rock around? I assume their appearances at SummerSlam were a Vince thing prior to him leaving. They were. We're not going to see much of Kane, but Kane will still be involved in the company. Every now and then he'll be wheeled out because it's a lot of free publicity. Well, free might be the wrong word. As regards Kid Rock, we'll probably never see him again. Kieran says, I really wanted to see Legacy with the Revival when Randy teamed with them for a couple of matches. I mean, yeah. That was some really good times. Imagine RK Bro with FTR. So FDRK Bro. Pretty good faction. Over says they're the most undiagnosed ADHD ever. I can't do jack shit in silence. I get that. Connor says it's a Viking funeral. I forgot that was happening. I believe that was Sarah Logan. After all, if you're going to do a Viking funeral, she's the right person for it. Megan says, side note, I love all the dragons we're getting because of Clash of the Castle. Give me all the dragons. Every dragon. If you have a dragon, guys, pass it to Megan, will you? Sean says, Queens of Wrestling reported that Tennille Dashwood has been removed from the Impact Wrestling roster page. Not sure if Queens of Wrestling is reliable. Sean, there's a way to check. Go and look at the Impact Wrestling roster page. And then you'll know if they're reliable or not. Jermaine, how you doing, mate? Says, hi, Tom. I called the spoiler one. Didn't get a chance to text you on YouTube, but I watched it. Have to say, SmackDown tonight has been really good. Thank you for watching, Jermaine. Really appreciate that. Like, you've genuinely been here since before spoiler warning was a thing. So it's just great to know that you're still enjoying the shows. And yeah, SmackDown's been pretty good so far. I've really quite enjoyed it. It's also flown, and I'll say it one more time. This show is flying. That's a very good thing. I believe it was, Ed. I believe it was. Bailey says there's a well-known podcaster, won't mention him, respect that, who thinks that Vince McMahon killed real wrestling. Yet the internet and social media would have eventually exposed the business in the territories and embarrassed them into oblivion. I think social media has actually broadened the wrestling community, not lessened it. I agree. For all the evils of social media, it's made everything a lot more accessible, including wrestlers themselves. Oh, because we had Ronda Rousey at the start, I forgot that we were going to get a Liv Morgan, Shayna Baszler segment. We might only get 2 wrestling matches tonight, and honestly, I wouldn't hate it. Megan says it would make sense if it was her. She'd know what to do and they wouldn't need to worry about her getting too close to the guys. It's her husband and one of her best friends after all. I just think it's a great way to use her. I don't think she'd have any issue doing it. Jarrett says, when do you see Brock coming back? Probably around Rumble time. Cheers and booze. More cheers and booze. Oh, of course. Liv versus Shotzi. Right. So Shotzi's got to be like the proper heel. I'm going to imagine Shayna attacks her from behind. Like, Shayna's the heel in this feud to try and keep people cheering Liv again. So she got to be dirty. Jermaine says, I hope one day we get Sami versus Gunther, but I have a feeling we're going to get Sami versus Karrion Kross first. I would like that. Oh, thank you, Ofa. I'll have a look at some point soon. I'm in the middle of a stream now, so I don't really track that stuff, but I'll certainly check it out. Megan says, I have dibs on all dragons. I'll make an exception for Matt Smith. He can keep his from House of the Dragon. Matt Smith has had such an interesting career. Did you ever see him on Andromeda? Because if you saw him there, and then saw him in the Confessions of a Call Girl? Diary of a Call Girl. You'd never look at that and think, oh, that's Doctor Who. And then here we are, and he's everything. Jermaine says, I know this is trying to turn Ronda as a heel, but she's coming off more like 2019 Becky Lynch. She's coming off as a huge babyface right now. I actually made that comparison earlier, and it's very true. Very true. I think Liv Morgan's face run is survivable, but we'll see how it goes. There is a reason, for those that remember, I did tweet that we were going to get a heel turn that the fans were going to really love. It was going to make the people really happy. That's what we've got with Ronda. Ross says, absolutely a fun match. Gunther has a lot of potential opponents he could be excellent with. And all of the people in there were some of them. Lashley's the one I'm looking forward to. Pete Dunne will be another. Drew also. I think Lashley Gunther is a really exciting prospect. I think Drew Gunther is probably going to be the Mania match with Gunther winning. I think Drew's going to be on the down for a little while, unfortunately for him, but still good. Kieran says probably there's only 2 matches considering there's about 3 dark matches. Fair. Johnny, as regards the conversation we were having earlier, says the Attitude Era was great, yes, but women's wrestling and all the faves, Sasha, etc. wouldn't be in a good place if that era was around today. Yeah. Vince McMahon would not have hired Sasha Banks back then, and if he did, you all know what they'd be doing with her. Sean says if they need a heel to keep the fans cheering, Liv, Charlotte Flair. Yep. If you're feuding with Charlotte Flair, you're automatically the face, even if you're a heel. You're not wrong. You're absolutely not wrong. Okay, hopefully you've got me scared now. Johnny says with Austin, Punk, Becky, and now Ronda, it's simple if you want to get someone over, give them a rebel-like character. That's what Steve Austin was. In every possible way. And there's been plenty since. I mean, isn't that kind of what Jeff Hardy was? Megan says, which teen store would we assume Liv would work in? Oh, forgot there well before I said it, but it was going to be, yeah, it's Hot Topic. 100% Hot Topic. There's a couple of... Oh no, what's the... Affleck's Palace. Is that Affleck's Palace, the one in Manchester? Yeah. Is that still open? Oh, I've never actually been. I need to go at some point just because it's like history. Megan, I would imagine you know this though. Is it Affleck's Palace? Devin says, if anything is possible, I want Sasha to versus Roman or Gunther. Okay. Everything is on the table. So, not impossible. Ofer says, what does everyone think is the worst storyline in WWE history? You can't say Katie Vick. Okay, how about the part where Paul Bearer was going to embalm Steve Austin alive? Do people remember that? I do. I mean, I don't hate that either. I'm strange with my wrestling content, aren't I? I've got a black screen. There we go. BT Sport caught up. Oh, Pat McAfee's advertising Fox again. It's a new Fox initiative, isn't it? Ooh. Thank you very much, Timothy Fleming, 12 Fleming, for subscribing on the YouTube side. I very much appreciate it. You'll get a notification every time we go live with either our spoiler warning news shows or our Smackdown and pay-per-view watch parties. The next pay-per-view watch party will of course be Clash at the Castle, but there'll still be plenty of Smackdown to enjoy as we build up to it. It says Snitsky, Kane and Lita and the miscarriage is pretty bad. Yep. Megan says, heard of it? Never been. I think it's still open. I'm sure I saw something about it a couple of months ago. That is 100% where Liv would work. She's in a difficult position right now. Now the crowd are getting behind her here. There's definitely some issue. Oh, that's a lovely graphic of Shayna. No, but seriously, that is a lovely graphic of Shayna. Look at that. Oh. Okay. So this is definitely built to try and get people back on Liv's side. She's got a match against Shotzi, who's been a heel built on the back of Sasha Banks. It's a winnable match, a match that I can expect her to at least deliver in. Then, of course, undoubtedly going to see Shayna Baszler, who is the right sort of detestable at this point in time. I'm happy with what's going on here. Alpha said I was going to say the Edge and Matt Hardy feud, maybe even Booker T versus Triple H. There's some bad stuff. Connor says, if I can't say Katie Vick, I'll say the terrorists had attacked Undertaker, which aired just after the London bombings. Fun fact, the London bombings happened on my birthday. Bailey says, objectionable storyline, how about the time Roddy Piper appeared in blackface? There's been some bad stuff. Johnny says, Tom, what's your thoughts on the brand split? Do you like it? And if you're in control of it, how would you book it, as in separate titles, pay-per-views, how exclusive are the talent, etc.? I would, if I was in charge of it, book it completely independently. I would be doing a pay-per-view schedule for Raw and a pay-per-view schedule for SmackDown. I would have the big four combined and they'd be 4-hour shows. Much like they originally were planning to do with it. I would have the shows completely separate. Completely separate. I think people get over most when they're left to do their own thing. I wouldn't even have the Survivor Series versus. I would just have them be completely separate, and I would have the draft after WrestleMania, so the season opener. Bear with me 1 second, please, guys. Something has irritated my nostrils. I'm realizing I'm a very strange person. Who sneezes like that? Ofa says, just Muhammad Hassan. Fair. Megan says, I like Liv, but I want Shayna to wipe the floor with her and take the title. I'm in that exact position. I like Liv. I'm glad she's finally getting the opportunity. I think she's earned it. I think fans are thinking it's way too soon, but I think she's earned it. But I also want Shayna to destroy her. It says, Muhammad Hassan was a great character and storyline. London bombings and that attack was incredibly poorly timed. Yeah, they just didn't need to do it. Things were going well. They just didn't need to do it. Okay, yes, you're right. It's not a fun fact. But it is a fact. As you've said. That's a reaction over, mate. Sean says, do we think Liv stays on SmackDown after she loses a belt or goes back to Raw? I don't think she's going to lose a belt at Clash of the Castle, so she kind of has to stay on SmackDown. I think she'll be champion during the draft, at least. Alpha says, Liv's title reign has been solely underwhelming. It's also been like a month and a half, so reckon we got to give her a little bit of time. Now, don't get me wrong, she's been booked to look weak. She has been. This is Triple H attempting to start fixing that problem by giving her a match she can actually win, making her look a bit more gutsy. That's fair, Ed. Ed says, you have to remember the London bombings happened after the episode was taped. They didn't know what to replace the segment with. So could it? Just could it? You got to work something out. But once again, I don't even think it's the proximity to the London bombings. I think the attire of the people in question and the way the attack went down, it just wasn't the right move. Megan says, I was born the same year as a Lockerbie air disaster and grew up in the area. That's led to some slightly awkward moments. And Ofa says, a month and a half that has felt like a year. Disagree. It's disappointing that she's only really had one match since, and that being the one where Ronda Rousey beat the crap out of her, but we are where we are. Johnny says, I think Liv's title reign would have been better if they played on her being the underdog and booked a 3-month chase with her getting screwed over each time before she finally gets her moment. I think she started okay, but as I say, they need to change the booking and change the booking fast because they're not doing her any favours at the moment by making her look this weak. Hopefully this is the beginning of that. Shayna Baszler getting some cheap shots, having her actually win a few matches. Shotzi again, perfect opponent for it. I don't know. I feel we've got everything we need for it. We just need to actually do it, you know? It shouldn't be a big ask for me. Shouldn't be a big ask. I think Eugene was a thing there, yeah. Just have Eugene walk out and chat for a bit. Why not? Johnny said she's coming off as not a believable champ. Yeah, intentionally as well. Like, I think that's the big problem for me as well. It is an intentional weakness being shown. I said before the match at SummerSlam, the entire storyline of this match is going to be she's not at the level required to compete. And then what we actually saw was she wasn't at the level required to compete. I thought you might be serious there, Ofa. Thought you might be. On the YouTube side, we currently have 22 people watching and only the 18 likes. If you can, please remember to hit that thumbs up. We've also gone up to 1,507 subscribers, which means we've gone up by 9 on the day so far. Pretty good day. Pretty good day. As I say, we've been, over the last 28 days, we've gained 259 new subscribers, our strongest period of growth ever. I do feel very proud and very happy with what we've accomplished. Also, for anyone who wasn't here earlier, please do be reminded, if you are a channel member or a channel supporter, our very own Cy T, who designed these graphics that you see right here, has offered to do something for you. He would like to make you a custom avatar. You tell him what you want, and he will make you, for absolutely free, a custom avatar to your specifications. That is our very own Cy T. And if you're a channel member, like for example Jermaine there with the green icon, you can just talk to Cy and make that happen. We are back live with Liv Morgan and Shotzi. Shotzi in classic heel position. Nice bridge on the suplex as well. Jared says, seems weird that Charlotte isn't back yet, isn't it? Yeah, I think the pivot to Liv Morgan as champion is the main reason that she's not back yet. It was going to be Ronda versus Charlotte again, but nobody really fancied it, so they decided to go with something else. Hector says, I don't like to nitpick because Triple H's time as head of creative so far has been promising, but this making babyfaces look weak is an old WWE thing that needs to change going forwards. I agree with that. I don't necessarily think it's down to him per se. I think Liv's booking was Vince McMahon's choice and they just didn't have time to change it. This, for me, is the Triple H pivot. This is the moment here where they make her the underdog again. Jermaine says, I get that Triple H has got to start making Liv Morgan look good, but Shotzi really needs to look good too. She does, but not today. In order for someone to win, someone else has to lose. That is a win for Liv Morgan, as expected. She needed to pick up the win. Now I am expecting we'll see Shayna here, just to be a heel. The crowd are not really reacting much at all to Liv at the moment. And I think that's probably the worst thing that could be happening. Oh look, it's Shayna Baszler attacking her from behind. I like that. Jermaine says, I get that. I've already read that one. Sean says, Liv has been champion for 48 days. She's passed Nikki Ash's reign that was only 33 days. Is it safe to say Liv's had a better reign? It's debatable. Like, it's debatable. Nikki Ash, they gave up on her immediately. And given what's happened since, I don't think many people can actually sit here and say it wasn't the right move. I think Liv has more potential for it, though. Johnny says, I really hope Charlotte doesn't win another title anytime soon. She's been in the title picture non-stop for the last 3 years. Would like to see what she can do with something different. They are slowly phasing out the Four Horsewomen from always being in the championship picture. Charlotte is unlikely to be a champion again for a little while. I don't know how long that little while will be, but it'll be a little while. Oh, it says, Tom, can you guess during which watch-along did I first appear? I'm going to guess, because it is a guess, Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell. That was the first show we ever reached above 100 viewers at once. Spoiler warning's been like the draw show. Spoiler warning brings the people in, so to speak, and the watch-alongs is what keeps them here, what I'm saying. So I'm going to guess Hell in a Cell. Bailey says Michael Cole said Liv Morgan survives instead of Liv Morgan wins. Or for a response, she survives for now. It's not the greatest booking, but it's a bit paint by numbers, but it had to be. Megan says Liv seems to be getting a better response on the house shows. She does, but so did Roman when people hated him. Roman Reigns championships up. No Paul Heyman or anything. I feel very Karrion Kross has slipped himself an hourglass behind Drew McIntyre's jacket. The face-to-face is up next. We have about 15 minutes left for it. There will be a commercial break during. I expect we're going to see Karrion Kross. Alpha says, I remember hearing somewhere that wrestling fans care way more during the hero's journey rather than the actual time as champion. Which is true. Very true. Ah, damn it, Alpha. You got me. It's fair. It's fair cop. It says, by the way, Canadian independent wrestler Casey Spinelli was a female cop who escorted Ronda out. Cool, thank you. I always appreciate the little tidbits like that. As regards to hero's journey, it's not just in wrestling. One of the reasons I think Daniel Bryan is as popular as he is because when he won the championship, he immediately became injured. So he wasn't at the top for long. Nobody likes success. There is a reason people hate Man United. But it's not because of anything particularly wrong with Man United. It's that they're successful. There's a reason people hate people when they're succeeding. The more I put out there that I'm succeeding, the more I get DMs from people accusing me of lying and cheating and blah blah blah. It does happen. As you guys know, I do get trolls and I do get DMs from people saying that I'm a liar and that I'm making up all my news. Clearly those people do not come into the shows, because if they did, they'd see how much of my news is almost immediately proven right or confirmed by other wrestling journalists with no credit given. So I get a lot of abuse. Everyone does. If you are successful, you will be abused. And I do feel that's what happens when someone is a champion for a long time. Now, with Roman, he's a heel. You're supposed to hate him. And because of that, people are liking him. It happened with Drew McIntyre's reign. It started happening with Becky Lynch's reign. And there's certainly a lot of other people that it worked out badly for. Alpha says, why I love Tottenham. I have hope every year. Every signing brings more hope. I think Tottenham have made some really good signings. Yves Bissouma is a really good signing. Really good signing. And just keeping Kane and Son together, like, I like what they're doing over there. It's a good team. We'll see how it goes. I do think you'll struggle to get top four. I think Arsenal are going to be in there. I think it'll be Chelsea-Arsenal. But Tottenham are certainly competing for those third and fourth spots. We may actually not get a commercial break during the last 10 minutes. Depends how this plays out, because we actually don't have that much time, do we? I'm realising we spent quite a lot of time talking about football. We might actually have to do Colohue football. Do some watch-alongs of some football matches. You just turn the commentary down and be like, yeah, but I want to listen to Tom. Who would you want me to do that with? Like, if I had a co-host, and I'd imagine in a football watch-along I'd need one, who would you want my co-host to be? Dream a bit. I'd rather know, like, the sort of person, so just give me some names, and I'll work it out from there. Jared says, what would you say a good prediction percentage for someone like yourself? My prediction percentage is somewhere around 80% usually. Sometimes I go a little bit lower, sometimes I go a little bit higher. I've never had a 100%, but there are times when I do know the results ahead of time. Not all the results usually, but there are times when I know the results ahead of time. So sometimes I'll intentionally say a prediction wrong, just to not give everything away. But yeah, I get 80% roughly, and I'm pretty happy with that. Jermaine says, I think Liv Morgan's problem was the ending of her match at SummerSlam. Had she just passed out like Steve Austin versus Bret Hart but still pinned Ronda, people would have been okay with Liv Morgan. She shouldn't have tapped. If she'd just pinned her and then fallen off afterwards and be like, oh, she just escaped, people would have been after like the idea of like the plucky underdog. Would have worked. Connor wants Colohue football, Ofer as well. They'd maybe try and reach out to Omega Luke. I considered that earlier today. I think that's a good shout. I've seen that Luke has done some football watch-alongs recently. They seem to have done pretty well. I don't know how much time he has, but certainly I think it'd be worth discussing. Maybe get a bit of a rotation going. Connor says, in my opinion, I don't know the type of person, just someone you can have good banter with and get along with. Fair play. Fair play. Every now and then just a good bit of banter goes a long way, you know? Roman is literally standing alone. It's a big pop as well. The crowd are loving this moment. It's a long time. 790 days. Yeah, but Connor, you live in a cupboard. There's only so much I can do with that, you know? Sorry. There's only so much I can do with that. It's going to be weird when I do that on a stream with someone else. I'll have a look and see like the football fans I know, because I know quite a few. And I'll see if anyone's interested. Hector says, Tom, what are the chances this is the first time in maybe a very long time the Survivor Series won't have World Champ versus World Champ? Or do you see Roman dropping the Raw title at Extreme Rules? I think if he drops it, it'll be in the draft. And I think it'll be a case of it being stripped from him rather than anything else. So Survivor Series doesn't seem like it's going to be champion versus champion for this championship at least. That said, I still really want Bobby Lashley versus Gunther. I really want that match. So if it can be at least a little bit champion versus champion, that'd be great. That'd be great. Ofer says, an idea I had, open up a Discord and a watch-along voice chat so that fans can join and commentate with you, as if we're all hosting it. Well, to be fair, Ofer, I do have a Discord. I was not aware that you were not aware of that. Let me just boot it up, and I'll give you the link, because I think you may enjoy it there. I've had a Discord for a little while. We chat wrestling there, chat a little bit about football. Si's running a fantasy league. There's good stuff, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So let me grab a link for you. I also sometimes post news in there before I go on spoiler warning and make it public. So it's our little secret. It's our little secret. Get a new invite link. And send it on the Twitch side. There we go. Connor says, it's going to be odd, but funny. True. One possibility is, Tommy, whatever game you're watching, you could get a mate who is a fan of one of the clubs, so you could shake it up. Have you been watching the kickoff? I'd like to do a show like the kickoff. I don't believe I have the facilities for it, but that's the dream, isn't it? That's the dream. Kieran says, what if Roman has to survive against like 7 other people? He would. He's beaten the odds before. He's beaten worse odds than that. I still remember the Shield taking on the entire roster and doing pretty well. John says, how can you make up your news, Tom, when Becky confirmed one of your reports? Well, people choose to ignore that in the attempt to attack. You've got to remember, my news doesn't get reported elsewhere. So if, for example, someone in a much bigger outlet says, don't trust Tom Colohue, well, they've never heard of me because they've not been to the show to realise that. So they believe the guy who's saying don't trust it, even though there's literal evidence that they're wrong. Bit further, bit further, bit further. There we go. There we go. Well done. Well done. Connor says, what's the kickoff? The kickoff is the True Geordie show. So he's got a couple of mates round, basically. He has a little studio in London. One of them, his mate Lawrence, is a Liverpool fan. He basically runs the show. And then he has like a Chelsea fan who's there a lot. He has a Man United fan who's there a lot. And he just brings in different people who are fans of different clubs. It's quite fun. I'd love to do something like that. If it was Spurs, mate, it'd have to be Sai at the moment. Sai's my boy. Adam McCullough. Yeah, that's the guy. There are people I like, there are people I don't like, but I like Lawrence. Roman has been acknowledged. The crowd is in awe right now. Absolutely in awe. Kieran says, I like watching Mark Goldbridge sometimes when United play just to see his reactions when they concede. Same. Maybe I could just do a show like that. We managed to find enough information about these watch-alongs to enjoy them. There's enough to do, you know. But yeah, the Goldbridge shows are funny. I've sort of fallen into the habit of just watching the highlights on YouTube because there's literally someone who just makes Goldbridge highlights because they're hilarious. Like, they're done in bad faith, but they still market the hell out of him. Hector says, Tom, you mentioned in the past you've not really watched Dark Side of the Ring, but they're releasing a Dark Side of the Territories, and I'm excited to learn more about history of wrestling, even though there will be a lot of stuff that is better not known that will be shown. There's always stuff that's better not known, but it's important that we know it. You know? We should know the bad stuff and the good. We can't bury our heads. Officer says, I prefer Pitchside or even the other guy. Had Danny Aaron's on for Chelsea Tottenham and he's loving it. I did not know about that one. Sean says, would we be getting this Roman push if this was a reaction he got when he was a face? Yeah. Well, we'd get the same push that we did get. We got a pretty strong Roman push when people were rejecting him. They just ignored it. Fair, Connor. Ralph says, was Ronda released? No. Why would that? No. Kieran says, I used to like Lawrence till he started making fun of a charity event, a couple of teenagers creative. News to me. I will have to look that up. I appreciate the heads up. Ross says, WWE has released a new Survivor Series logo. Looks like a Raw versus SmackDown purely by the colours. Hoping for NXT involvement. It's good for us in the UK. It's another Saturday PLE in Boston on 26th of November. Saturdays. That's in the height of the World Cup as well. Rav, where are you getting your news? Wherever you got your news from, stop reading it. 5 minutes left. McIntyre is on his way down to the ring. Roman has just been running the conversation. Drew is literally wearing a SmackDown 1200 shirt. It's the only reference we've had to SmackDown 1200 since the opener is on Drew McIntyre's shirt. He needs like that definitive shirt. Roman's got like 4 of them, but Drew's missing one. A little bit of pacing around each other. Clash of creators. Thank you, Kieran. Appreciate that. Well, we'll see, Connor. I already do something for the Euros and the World Cup, so we'll see. Depends how much work it involves. Hector says, I know this may not be comparable, but AEW putting Mox versus Punk on Dynamite kind of reminds me of Goldberg beating Hollywood Hogan on Nitro. That was more about the arena. You definitely can't say that to Roman. I don't do anything on stream, Connor, is what I'm saying. I do something in my personal life. It's a family thing. It's nice. I'm disappointed we haven't heard the phrase tribal queef again. I've answered you several times now, Rav. Wherever you've got that information, never go back. Megan says, if Drew does win, do you think I might be able to convince Nicola to give us all a bank holiday to celebrate? I think you should. I mean, you'd have to promise his independence, but do what you can. This is a really good promo from Drew. He took off his 1200 shirt. Oh, Roman's up for it. Roman's up for it. Sure. That's my favourite thing about this particular Roman run. He's a fighting champion. There's no messing around. He is a fighting champion. McIntyre in dominant position. Where's Karrion Kross? Oh. Also a good option, Sami Zayn. Earning his keep. I get it, Megan. I totally get it. Over says, Tom, have I told you about my 100 movies in 100 days marathon? Considering I started 9 days ago, it'll take me up to the World Cup. I need some recommendations for movies to watch. Baz Luhrmann's Romeo plus Juliet. I really like that film. It's really fun. McIntyre did survive, but Sami Zayn did sort of earn his keep there. Disappointed lack of Karrion. Hector says, imagine the pop Drew will get when If Broken Dreams comes on at Clash. Well, he promised it. They're going to be real disappointed if it doesn't happen now. Ooh, Kingsman. Good choice, Connor. Ooh, watch like the second Pokemon film. Just for shits and gigs. Same, Sean. Same. Drew McIntyre does the pose. I still remember when Brock Lesnar told him he had to do the pose way back during their feud. And that is Smackdown. Now, as you guys know, it is nearly 3 a.m. here. And poor little Tom Colohue. I say poor little, I'm 34 years old. Grey as hell. I mean, look at that shit. Poor little Tom Colohue. He's a bit of a tired boy. So I usually wrap it up pretty swiftly. And I think that's okay. I think that's fair. So I'm going to go and get some sleep. I will definitely think some more about Colohue football. Been thinking about it for a while. And I'll definitely have a further think about it. But until then, I'm just going to say thanks everyone for keeping me company. This has been a good show. And I don't just mean Smackdown. I've had a really fun time tonight. So thanks. Like, sometimes I get a little bit emotional, right? Because when I first started this whole endeavour, on Twitch I had Ed, and that was it. On YouTube I had 4 or 5 people, most of whom aren't here anymore. Like, do people remember Matt? Not here anymore. Do people remember Eleanor? Not here anymore. Most of them aren't here anymore. So when I have nights of like 200 people in a show, it's fantastic. But also when I have nights like this where at no point, not for even a second, is there dead space, is there moments when I'm like, oh shit, I need to say something. It's so reassuring. So I just wanted to say thank you. And I hope you've enjoyed the show, and I hope I continue to be entertaining enough to be worth your time. I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic. I'll see you all very soon.